Prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistike Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Hey Krishna
करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपीशा गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्ते तप्त कंचनम गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी
Vrishabhasuti Devi
भानुसुति देवी करुणामयी हरिप्रिये
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna
कृष्ण
Prishnaya
कृष्णाय
Srimate Bhaktivedanta Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi
गौरवाणी
Visheshana Shunyavadi Bhaktya Deshatarina Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo
वैष्णवभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्री वासुदेव गौर भक्त वृंदा
Krishna
हरे कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण
Krishna
कृष्ण हरे हरे
Hare
हरे
Rama
राम
Rama 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 Hare we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, and we are on text. No, we are on Chapter 10, sorry. Chapter 10, Text 3. So, reading from the purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As mentioned in the previous verse, Shrutena, or with reference to the Vedic conclusions, the creation is made possible from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, directly by manifestation of his particular energies. Yeah, we can see that mostly everyone, every human being will have that question. How did this creation come about? How come this, what is this universe? What is this planet? What we are doing? What are the stars in the sky? And so modern science is trying to answer, but they've not gotten the correct they've not gotten the correct answers because they are forgetting the main thing, that to refer to the Vedas, that how is the creation created. So the creation Krishna is saying and Brahmaji is saying is created by Lord Krishna by his manifestation of his different energies. Without such a Vedic reference, the creation appears to be a product of material nature. This conclusion comes from a poor fund of knowledge. From Vedic reference, it is concluded that the origin of all energies, namely internal, external, and marginal, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because we know if there's energy, where's the energy coming from? There has to be an energetic. There has to be a person from who the energy is coming from. We are seeing the sunshine. Where is the sunshine coming from? It's coming from the sun planet. Same way, all this material creation, it is created by Krishna, the person. And as explained herein before, the illusory conclusion is that creation is made by the inert material nature. The Vedic conclusion is transcendental light, whereas the non-Vedic conclusion is material darkness. So people who don't refer to the Vedas, they feel, or it's their mental speculation, that the creation happened just by itself. that Mother Nature, she is just a combination of different chemicals. But we can know, even the great scientist, Albert Einstein also said that if somebody really studies the universe is so systematic and so intricate, there has to be a creator behind it. So if we use a little intelligence, we can see that there is a person behind this whole creation. As we can see that there is a person behind our laptops and our phones. It just doesn't manufacture by itself. Our laptop, our phone doesn't happen that just suddenly some chemicals combine together and then all these products keep popping up by themselves. No. The internal potency of the Supreme Lord is identical with the Supreme Lord, and the external potency is enlivened in contact with the internal potency. So the Krishna's internal energy, the Antaranga Shakti, he keeps with himself, and his external potency is a separated potency. It is with this external potency is this Mahamaya, with which the whole material creation is created. And then inside this external potency, inside this material energy, when the living entity is put inside, then this material energy seems to be alive. Otherwise, it's all dead matter, the material elements. Even mind, intelligence, false ego, although they are subtle, they're just dead matter. It's only because the living entity is there. That's why everything appears to be living. The parts and parcels of the internal potency which react in contact with the external potency are called the marginal potency or the living entities. Thus, the original creation is directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead or Param Brahman, and the secondary creation as a reactionary result of the original ingredients is made by Brahma. Thus, the activities of the whole universe are started. So this was the first, the sarga part, the creation, and a bit of the visarga, the secondary creation, which is created by Brahma. One of the few, these are the topics of Srimad Bhagavatam. Because everybody is baffled, how does the creation come about? And then so many people put on their different theories and philosophies. And not only are they confused, they end up confusing everybody else who listens to them. The matter is very simply explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So we just have to go to the authority. We want to know how to use a particular device. We just have to go inside the help menu and they will tell us how to use it properly. Okay, then text 4. Sthithir Vaikunta Vijayaha Poshanam Tat Anugraha Manvantarani Saddharma Uttaya Karma Vasanaha. The right situation for the living entities is to obey the laws of the Lord and thus be in perfect peace of mind under the protection of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Manus and their laws are meant to give right direction in life. The impetus for activity is the desire for fruitive work. Now, if we want to be peaceful of mind, what we have to do is we have to obey the laws of the Lord. For example, same way, if we want to move about freely in any country, we have to obey the laws of that particular country. If we don't obey the laws, then we are put in prison. We'll be fined, penalized. Similarly, this material universe, which is created by the Lord, He has created laws, and we are required to follow these laws. This material world is created, maintained for some time, and again annihilated by the will of the Lord. The ingredients for creation and the subordinate creator Brahma are first created by Lord Vishnu in his first and second incarnations. The first Purusha incarnation is Mahavishnu, and the second Purusha incarnation is the Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, from whom Brahma is created. So like Lord Krishna, he expands as Balaram, Balaram expands as the Chaturvyuha, the first Chaturvyuha, then the second Chaturvyuha, and then comes Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is the first Purusha incarnation. And then second is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. And the third Purusha avatar is the Shirodakshay Vishnu, who lives as the super soul of everything in the universe and maintains the creation generated by Brahma. Shiva is one of the many sons of Brahma, and he annihilates the creation. Therefore, the original creator of the universe is Vishnu, and he is also the maintainer of the created beings by his causeless mercy. As such, it is the duty of all conditioned souls to acknowledge the victory of the Lord and thus become pure devotees and live peacefully in this world where miseries and dangers are always in existence. So it is of a duty, Prabhupada is writing, it's a duty of all conditioned souls that we should acknowledge that we are created by the Lord and this whole material world is created by the Lord. And he's the one who's maintaining us. If he was not maintaining us, what would happen to us? So we owe it to him to be grateful to him, you know. And in this material world, it's a place of misery and danger at every step. Padam padam yat vipadam. You know, that at every step there is danger in the material world. Anything can happen at any time. The conditioned souls who take this material creation as the place for satisfaction of the senses are thus are illusioned by the external energy of Vishnu, remain again to be subjected to the laws of material nature, creation, and destruction. So we are thinking that this material world, this creation is there for us, for me to enjoy, and that's why I should live here forever and ever and try to enjoy and enjoy. But then we won't be able to get out of here. The more attached we are to this material world, we won't be able to get out. It's just these few miseries that we get, and then we try to understand, oh, what is happening? Why am I here? Why am I suffering? If the suffering was not there, we'll go on living our life, trying to enjoy the material world. So it is the mercy of the Lord sometimes, you know, when we go through things, difficulties. So we are awakened. Oh, what's happening? I don't like to suffer. Why should I suffer? Why am I here in the material world? Who am I? Who's the controller? In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that the beginning from the topmost planet of this universe down to the lowest planet, Patala Loka, all are destructible, and the conditioned souls may travel in space either by good or bad work or by modern spacecraft. But they are sure to die everywhere, although the duration of life in different planets is different. So we might have the desire, I want to go, I'm situated in one city or one country, I want to go visit another country. Or I'm sitting in one planet, I want to go visit another planet. And I could visit that planet either by using a spacecraft, or I could use it by getting some yogic powers, or I might go by getting some good karma. Whatever it is, wherever I am inside the material universe, there is one guarantee, that I'm going to die. Either I'll be in this planet, in this country, another country. So, you know, because we all have that, oh, let me go see what's happening. What is this planet about? What is on the moon? What is on the sun? What is on the, Mars? What's happening there? But we should know that even if we live in the higher planets, we might live longer, yeah, but over there also we are going to die. The only means to attain eternal life is to go back home, back to Godhead, where there is no more rebirth, as in the material planets. The conditioned souls, being unaware of this very simple fact, because of forgetting their relationship with the Lord of Vaikuntha, try to plan out a permanent life in this material world. So because we have forgotten who we are, who we truly are, that we are parts and parcels of Krishna, because we have forgotten our eternal relationship with Krishna, we are thinking this material world is my permanent place, and this is where I have to live, and I have to accept whatever comes my way. But no, that's the reason the devotees come. Krishna comes to keep reminding us that get out of this temporary situation. Being illusioned by the external energy, they thus become engaged in various types of economic and religious development, forgetting that they are meant for going back home, back to Godhead. This forgetfulness is so strong due to the influence of Maya that the conditioned souls do not at all want to go back to Godhead. So Prabhupada used to give the example that you're living in suppose you come for a short visit, you're in the hotel room, and then you get so busy decorating the hotel room. You want to put paintings, you want to buy furniture, you want to buy new utensils. You get so busy inside in the hotel room without realizing you're there just for a temporary time. All your energy and time is going wasted to just make the room more and more comfortable, but you're not going to be there forever. Similarly, our time in this body is not forever. But Maya is strong. Maya is so strong that we don't want to go back to Godhead. Although we might say, oh, I want to go back, but actually, how much attached are we to going back? And that is what is needed, the greed, the lolium. We need the intense eagerness for Krishna. Only that's the price we have to pay to get Krishna, the intense greed. When we want something very badly, we'll do anything. No matter how tired a mother is, the child will say, can you please cook me this? She'll get up and cook it. Fine, So that because that bond is there, the love is there. So similarly, we have forgotten this love for Krishna. And we have to be reminded by constantly hearing and chanting about Krishna, and make that greed so much that no, all I want is Krishna, my relationship with Krishna. By sense enjoyment, they become victims of birth and death repeatedly, and thus spoil human lives, which are chances for going back to Vishnu. The directive scriptures made by the Manus in different ages and millenniums are called Saddharma, good guidance for the human beings, who should take advantage of all the revealed scriptures for their own interest, to make life's successful termination. So that's what all the scriptures want us to do, not to increase our standard of living, our economic development here in this material life, but they want us to take advantage to successful termination. Means this is my last life. I don't want to come back to this material world again. But if our full time and energy is going to just keep this body happy, to keep our bodily relations happy, everything then just comes to the body part. We might say, I'm working for my family, but we are working for my family because they're attached to this body. What will happen to this same family members when I leave the body? I'll be in another body, I'll have another family members, So our attachment is actually to this body. And we just give this attachment in the name of family members or society or community. So the creation is not false, but it is a temporary manifestation just to give a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead. The desire to go back to Godhead and functions performed in that direction form the right path of work. When such a regulative path is accepted, the Lord gives all protection to his devotees by his causeless mercy, while the non-devotees risk their own activities to bind themselves in a chain of fruitive reactions. So Krishna gives all protection if we really make up our mind that, yes, I want to get to know Krishna. I want to go back home, back to Godhead. Then Krishna gives all protection. And we endeavor, not only that we think that, but we work towards it. Anything, even in the material world, we want something, we have to work towards it. It could be anything. We want to acquire a particular skill, we have to go enroll in a school and then learn the skill, utilize our time and energy for that skill. It could be as easy as to learn stitching maybe. So I have to go to the school, I have to learn, I have to put the process. Same, if I want to go back home, back to Godhead, I have to do some duties in that regard. I have to hear and chant Krishna's names. And then when we do that, Krishna gives protection to his devotee. Avishya Rakshibe Krishna. That is, the devotee knows Krishna will protect me. The word Saddharma is significant in this connection. Saddharma, or duty performed for going back to Godhead and thus becoming his unalloyed devotee, is the only pious activity. All others may pretend to be pious, but actually they are not. So many of us, we do a lot of rituals and we think we are very pious. But here Bhagavatam says that the only pious activity is that which is Bhakti Yoga, which begins with hearing and chanting. Activities which are bringing us closer to Krishna, for going back to Godhead, for becoming a devotee. And all other activities that we might think we are being very pious or religious, those are only pretentious. It is for this reason only that the Lord advises in the Bhagavad Gita that one give up all so-called religious activities and completely engage in the devotional service of the Lord, to become free from all anxieties due to the dangerous life of material existence. So Krishna is not that he has a very big ego and he's saying, no, you only pray to me, don't worship any demigods, don't worship any other, don't have any other made up religion things, just worship me and come to me. It's not that he has a big ego and that's why he's saying. We do that. We want people to worship us and say, oh, you're so good, you're so great, because we want our egos to be fed. But why is Krishna asking us to do that? The only thing is he does not want us to suffer here in this material world. He wants us to come back to the spiritual world, back home. He wants to come back home, and so we can be always blissful. To work situated in Saddharma is the right direction of life. One's aim of life should be to go back home, back to Godhead, and not be subjected to repeated births and deaths in the material world by getting good or bad bodies for temporary existence. So Prabhupada, somebody asked Prabhupada, what is good and what is bad? Prabhupada said, in the material world, there is no good or bad. Everything is bad because everything is temporary. It is ultimately going to lead to suffering, our separation from Krishna, our separation from our true identity, our separation from our home. And so what Bhagavatam is saying, that our aim of life, we have so many different aims. I want to do this, I want to do that, I have this goal, I have that goal. But Bhagavatam says, what should our goal be? Bhagavatam says that our aim should be to go back home, back to Godhead, and not again take birth and death and birth and death. Herein lies the intelligence of human life, and one should desire the activities of life in that way. So if we are intelligent, then we will take up the proposal of Bhagavatam also and make this our own aim of life, that I will make this life my last life. I will work in that way. I've been working millions and millions of lives I've been trying to enjoy in this material world. But let me try. And then Prabhupada would say, somebody would ask Prabhupada, but what if this is not all true? And then Prabhupada looked at them in the eye and said, but what if it is? Then you wasted your chance, no? And if it is not, anyway, you're going to come back into the material world again. And then at another time, one lady asked Prabhupada, is it true? Prabhupada almost had tears in his eyes. And he said, why would I lie to you? He said, why would I lie to you? So we should take up this with great faith and great determination that I should try my best to make this my last life in this material world and go back home, back to Godhead, back to where Krishna is, back to where all the devotees are, back where every word is a song, every step is a dance, where there is a festival every moment. There is no anxiety, there is no fear. And it begins by hearing and chanting. Continuously hear from the Srimad Bhagavatam and chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Is that okay? Any questions, comments?
No, all good, beautiful.
That was beautiful, right? Text 5. Avataru, let me hear. I'm sorry. Avataranucharitam hareshya syanuvartinam pumsam isha katha prokta nanakyanopabrimhitaha. The science of God describes the incarnations of the personality of Godhead and his different activities together with the activities of his great devotees. During the course of the existence of the cosmic manifestation, the chronology of history is created, recording the activities of the living entities. People in general have a tendency to learn the history and narrations of different men and times. But due to a lack of knowledge in the science of God, they are not apt to study the history of the incarnations of the personality of Godhead. So we can see in each country we have our own history books. As far as, they have done the research. So they'll have a great chronology, or this was a great king, or this person, great fighter, great industrialist or something. And so all the great people are recorded in the modern history. But there is a history. All the incarnations of Godhead are also recorded in Bhagavatam. How many of us have the desire to know of that? It should always be remembered that the material creation is created for the salvation of the conditioned souls. So we shouldn't blame, like many people say, why did God have to make the world? We are suffering here. Why did he make it? He made it for our salvation, for us to correct our desire, for us to get that desire. I want to be home. I don't want to be in the material world. For us to be situated in our true position that I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. I'm a part of Krishna. I'm non-different from Krishna. Krishna is unlimited, of course. I am tiny, tiny. I can never be Krishna, but I'm a tiny, tiny part of Krishna. The merciful Lord, out of his causeless mercy, descends to various planets in the material world and acts for the salvation of the conditioned souls. That makes the history and narrations worth reading. Srimad Bhagavatam offers such transcendental topics of the Lord in relationship with great devotees. Therefore, the topics of the devotees and the Lord are to be given respectful oral reception. So that's what Bhagavatam is going to be spoken, is all about the Lord's devotees. And whenever we speak about the Lord's devotees, the Lord is always there, because the devotees never separated from the Lord. So they are the different incarnations of the Lord and his different devotees that we'll be hearing about in the Bhagavatam. So we can stop here for today. If anybody wanted to add something, so any question, any comment? No? Then we can stop. Srimad
You said that whenever we speak of Krishna, then when we speak of Krishna as devotees, then Krishna is there, right?
Yes. Whenever, that's why Krishna says that one who worships my devotee is in fact my devotee. One who's directly trying to worship me is not my devotee. Because why? Because a devotee can only teach us how to worship Krishna. We don't know Krishna, How do we know Krishna? We don't know him. So how will we actually love him? How will we worship him? It's the devotees who know him. So they will teach us how to worship him, how to love him, how to reestablish our relationship with him. So that's the reason we should always glorify the pure devotees, become the servants of the pure devotees, and then they follow the instructions of the pure devotees. If we really want to know Krishna, we can never approach Krishna directly.
So the pure devotee can be a bona fide master, right? Guru.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like you can serve your guru,
yes.
worship your guru. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Who's coming in the parampara? Yes, that's right. So we need the mercy of a pure devotee to connect us to Krishna. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining in. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.
Have a great day.